Welcome to another episode of Pop Voice, the Suffolk Voice's arts and entertainment series where we explore the world of pop culture both on campus and around the country. I am freshman Diego Lopez, joined by freshman Matt Brown, freshman Kelly Mitchell, and sophomore Andrew Bork. Today we will be covering our favorite shows and previewing some upcoming releases from online streaming service giant Netflix, along with some recent movie trailer buzz, before moving on to the latest celebrity gossip. Lastly, we will have two members of Seriously Bent here to discuss the week's Performing Artists Offspring concert. So to get things started, I'll hand it over to Matt.
Thanks, Diego. So I know Netflix is big right now because they're releasing a new Netflix original called Fuller House. It's the new Netflix original. It's like House of Cards and Orange is the New Black, where it's just on Netflix. And it's a sequel to Full House, where it revolves around DJ Tanner. And she's widowed, and she's the new household head, and she is accompanied by Stephanie, her younger sister, and Kimmy Gibbler also. So I think that's an interesting show to have.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that works out because, I mean, Netflix has tried, not just Netflix, a lot of people have tried the remakes of classic TV shows and everything, and we've seen it with Arrested Development, and Netflix picked them up, and it didn't really pan out exactly how they were hoping.
It really wasn't as good as before, so I wonder if, like, Full House is going to follow the same fate, just not, have the same nostalgia that people,
the problem with Full House is like the problem with remaking and like anyone's favorite childhood movie or TV show. Like there's a ton of love for that show, and they have to somehow recreate it enough to do it justice.
It's also like when Disney picked up Girl Meets World, the sequel to Boy Meets World. I mean, I love Boy Meets World, but then when I started watching Girl Meets World, because how can you not start watching it? I was so disappointed.
Yeah, I never heard anything about that show, like anything positive.
Oh yeah.
I think Fuller House will do well just because like people will watch it, so it'll be popular in that sense. But I don't know about like the quality of like how they will remake it. And I'm also interested too. Like, are the Olsen twins coming back? And how would they do that? Because Michelle was always played by one of them. So is it Ashley or Mary Kate or both? Or are they just like? Are we not acknowledging them?
Suddenly there's a second one now.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have to wait and see, I
mean, what happened to Michelle? Like, how are they going to slide that in?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then also there's a ton of movie trailers that came out this week, this past month.
So many.
Especially last week. Yeah, the one I'm most excited for is, I want to say Avengers Age of Ultron, that trailer, but then also Black Mass, the new Johnny Depp movie, where he's just Whitey Bulger. He looks exactly like him.
Johnny Depp is just such a chameleon. Like, he's such an amazing actor, and that every movie you see of him, I never even recognize him, which I think says a lot. Because a lot of times, like, you can watch a movie and be like, oh, it's this person playing it, and you don't even know. He's literally a chameleon.
See, I have a different perception with recently Johnny Depp hasn't been, at least in my opinion, hasn't been the artist and amazing actor that everyone knows that he can be. In the 90s with Edward Scissorhands and when he had the first Pirates of the Caribbean, it was truly fantastic performances. However, he kind of took Pirates of the Caribbean a little bit too far.
Yeah.
But Black Mass really does seem, it's like Steve Carell in Foxcatcher. It just seems like someone against type going for a crazy, believable performance, and it looks terrifying.
I'm excited.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
And then another one, the second Star Wars trailer came out, and they just added more. Harrison Ford was finally shown in it with Chewbacca, and that I just got so excited when I saw it.
I was so excited. I was going crazy.
I was so excited.
Yeah, I love when they release these teasers for a movie that comes out way at the other end of the year.
Yeah,
but
like the James Bond one too. When I saw the teaser for that, I got so excited.
It's exciting to see what these are going to actually pan out to be, because for months we just sort of sit here with, especially with J.J. Abrams with Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
He's never open about his projects, so what he's doing with it, no one has any idea, but it's exciting to see.
Yeah. So we will now be taking our first break, and when we come back, Kelly will dish out the latest juicy stories out of Hollywood. Thanks for sticking with us on Pop Voice. I'm Diego Lopez. Every week, countless celebrities find themselves in sticky situations. To get us started off on the most popular stories this week, Kelly will kick things off.
Thanks, Diego. So starting with the Ben Affleck controversy that just kind of got into the news. So he was on a show, a PBS documentary called Finding Your Roots. It's one of those shows where professionals come in and they look at the family history and find out the ancestors of celebrities. And it was found out that Ben Affleck's great however many great ancestors was a slave owner. So obviously he was embarrassed about this. He emailed the producer of the show and said, please don't reveal this. And they didn't. So basically they censored it, and then with a Sony hack that happened, the email was released, and so now not only are people pointing fingers at Ben Affleck, but the PBS company and Henry Louis Gates, who is the producer, saying, how could you censor this? So what do you guys think?
I think there's two sides to this. I mean, obviously you can see where Ben Affleck is coming from because he is trying to cover up an unsavory part of his family's history, but at the same time, I think people understand Ben enough to know that he's not. I mean, it doesn't directly reflect who he is as a person now, anyway. But I don't know what you guys think.
I think it's silly that they've made such a big deal out of it. Like, I can totally understand why somebody wouldn't want like their family's slave-owning history like broadcasted out. Like he is not responsible for that. He has nothing to do with it, and he just doesn't want to be associated with it. So I think that's okay. Because like if you do put that out there, even though most people will realize it's not that big of a deal, like there's always some people who will start getting angry at him for this. So I think it was totally justified that he would want to hide that.
I don't know. I think it's a bigger deal that PBS actually censored it, and Henry Louis Gates took Ben Affleck's request to actually censor it and take it out, because a ton of news organizations are coming at PBS and being like, you gave in to censorship, you actually censored that, we have the freedom of the press, why are you doing this? You're not an actual news organization anymore, stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree with Matt, because the show kind of presents itself as a documentary, and when you're finding out about family history, like, again, it's hundreds of years ago, he could kind of use it as a moment to say, like, look how far we come, because I think instead they focus on the show about his mom. I believe that she marched with the civil rights movement, so you could use it as, a serious, like, moment, but I
makes
don't.
sense,
Just censoring stuff like that just makes me uncomfortable. Like, that's a slippery slope in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because then what else is PBS censored? It brings up that question.
True.
Yeah, it's true.
Brings up other questions as well. But on a lighter note, there's some kind of weird, goofy, strange celebrity news this week. Mila Kunis apparently stole a chicken when she was in Ukraine 25 years ago, and her childhood friend who owned that chicken, which was named Doggy, of course, is now going after her, saying, you owe me money for my therapist appointments and shrink appointments from the trauma of losing my beloved chicken. Doggy.
Yes.
Right.
And in other news, comedian Amy Schumer, who's been sort of rising exponentially in the whole entertainment world. I mean, she's been on the cover of Entertainment Weekly, and she has her own show, which is doing fantastic. Tina Fey, Patricia Arquette, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus were just on it the other week. And she, at the Time 100 gala, faked falling in front of Kanye West and Kim Kardashian to see if they would be courteous enough to help her. And obviously they weren't. So they just sort of stood there awkwardly watching this girl flail on the carpet and walked away. And then once Amy got up and was like, oh, I'm so sorry, which she was faking an apology afterwards, they were like, oh, yeah, funny. And then they just sort of walked away, which, God, it's so, oh, God, I don't know. Kanye and Kim.
I think that's pretty goofy.
Yeah, I think it was kind of just a big attention grab from...
That's funny.
I mean, I love Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious. I thought that was brilliant. And Laverne Cox came out in support of it also from Orange is the New Black. She loved it. And I think that's exactly what Amy Schumer goes for. It's just weird, funny, strange.
Yeah, it's definitely her kind of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's time for one last break, but stay tuned because when we come back, I will be joined by two members of Seriously Bet, Suffolk's award-winning improv group on campus to talk about this week's PAO concert. And we're back on Pop Voice. I'm Diego Lopez, and I am now joined by sophomore Lucas Fersan and junior Tom Burke of Seriously Bet. Burke is co-hosting the Performing Arts Office's spring concert this week. So Tom, tell me a little bit about what we can expect from the show.
Well, the show is the PAO office. All the groups in the PAO office are doing maybe like 20 minutes, 15 minutes of what they do best. So for sketch and misconduct, they'll do a really great sketch. Wicked will put on a really awesome hip hop dance. Dance Company will do a really awesome dance, and Seriously Bent will, fool around on stage for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's funny.
That sounds really exciting. So what can you tell me about any of the other groups that are going to be performing?
I mean, it's all people who just do performance-type stuff. So there's a lot of singing. There's a step team, which will do like some really cool stuff. I love watching them.
Oh, nice.
So it's really just a lot of entertainment, and the group's saying, look what we can do. We've been doing it all year long. Check us out. We're really awesome.
Right. So you looking forward to hosting it?
I love hosting in general, and it's a really cool show to host because all my friends are there, people that I see who also do performance art. So yeah, it's always a fun time.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about what Seriously Ben has been doing lately.
Well, we recently, last month, we went to Chicago for a college improv tournament, which is really cool. We didn't win, but we had a great time. We got to see a bunch of like professional improv groups do their thing. We met people from different schools. It was a good experience for all of us.
Nice.
Yeah, and we recently had our end of the year review, which is like a mixture of sketch and improv, and we're done with that. So we're kind of like, on our slide. We only got a couple more shows left for the year.
Right. So how different is it doing sketch for you guys? Do you find it more difficult? Or?
I don't know. It's kind of like memorizing lines is a very foreign thing. I did theater in high school, but not since then. So it's like, I have to actually put effort into doing this rather than just getting out there and making stuff up.
Right, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So, like, how do you train yourself to be good at coming up with these sorts of things, like on the fly, like right in front of an audience?
Honestly, it's a difficult thing to do. But like, practice is really what makes perfect. We warm up every time. That really helps me. And there's just like secret tricks you do to kind of get the good stuff out.
Yeah, we've a really great coach who kind of like pushes us to know what is a good idea and what's a bad idea and what kind of comedy works.
Right.
And if you ever watch like a sitcom, you'll notice that it goes in threes, and we follow that same structure in improv, but it's on the fly. So it's kind of like once that third beat happens, we want to switch it up and do something new because we've reached the peak of a scene.
Huh, that's really interesting. So how did you guys both get into it?
Well, honestly, I didn't have like any theater experience from high school or acting experience. I saw Seriously Ben at the orientation show, and they were really funny. So when it was time to sign up, I put my name on the list, and I got on.
Congratulations.
To my surprise.
Yeah, nice.
I've known Aaron Farrington, who's also on Seriously Ben, since I was like a freshman in high school. We did theater together, and then we also did improv together. The Milkmen is our high school name.
Nice.
And then I went to a different school my freshman year, but I knew that she was on Seriously Bent at Suffolk. So I transferred here, because I wanted to come to Suffolk, but also I knew that this awesome improv team was here. And I got auditioned and got on and couldn't be happier.
Nice. So Seriously Ben will be performing at the show this coming up.
Yes.
You guys excited for that? You a little nervous or?
I'm actually not performing.
Oh, really?
I got a presentation to do that.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, I'll be performing. Not too nervous about it. It's usually 10 minutes or so. So I'll go out there and say some garbage, and hopefully someone laughs at it.
Well, nice. All right, very cool. Well, that's all for this week on Pop Voice. Make sure to turn in to SuffolkVoice.net for more information and updates. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at SU_voice. I'm Diego Lopez, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.